Welcome to ridiculous stuff going on around the world right now that for some reason you just haven't heard about, part 13. So we all remember the monoliths that were appearing all over the place in 2020, right? Well, now they are starting to appear in 2021 as well. This new monolith was found in southeastern Turkey right next to a 12,000-year-old temple. The 10-foot tall metal monolith had an ancient Turkish script inscribed into it that said, "Look at the sky, you will see the moon." The strangest part of all of this is that right after the monolith was discovered, it was surrounded by armed military guards. The Turkish military was apparently protecting the monolith from any threats, whatever that means. And then 4 days after it was found, the monolith and the military that was protecting it were gone.
Hallelujah.
Remember,
Kumbuka,
it's important for you to know this.
ni muhimu kwako wewe kujua hii.
All prophecy about the coming of the Messiah
Unabii wote kuhusiana na kukuja kwa Mesia
gravitates around Israel.
unazungukia Israeli.
You know that, of course.
Munajua hiyo hata hivyo.
Every prophecy, all prophecy on the coming of the Messiah rotates around Jerusalem, around Israel.
Unabii wote kuhusiana.
You just prepare and enter. Matters of eternity are personal. Even your husband cannot determine it for you. Please. Even your wife cannot determine your eternity for you. Those things are personal. You will not enter as a group, as a worship team. You will not. You will not say, now you see my children. Your son might enter and you don't. Your daughter might enter and don't. You might enter, they don't. Your husband might enter, you don't. And if God help you.
But many times
Lakini mara nyingi
people die without preparing.
watu wengi hufa bila kujiandaa.
It's a terrible thing to be dead without preparing.
Ni jambo la kutisha, hatari sana kufa bila
And then
kujiandaa.
when you go to their funeral,
Halafu ukienda katika matangazao,
then you hear the way people speak things there.
halafu unasikia jinsi ambavyo watu wanazungumza mambo huko.
They say, oh, he's now with the Lord.
Wanasema ya kwamba sasa yuko pamoja na
he's now in
Bwana.
heaven.
Sasa yuko mbinguni.
And yet you sometimes know that that person was not born again.
Ilhali mwajua ya kwamba wakati mwingine huyo mtu.
So speaking of not being able to disprove the Bible, this is trippy, okay? 1947, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. Between 1946 and 1947, it was like November 1946 and February 1947. What else happened that year? In July of 1947, soon after these were found. July of 1947, the Roswell crash. Little distraction, possibly. And now we're getting information of UFOs and aliens again. What do you think? Oh, what else did they find around that time? The Nag Hammadi texts, Gospel of Thomas, the Lost Gospel of Thomas. So right around July of 1947, everyone was like starting to get, okay, I think the Bible's real. Oh, send them UFOs, quick.
If you go to Disney World, for instance, down there in the Haunted Mansion, you see the hologram, right? Oh, you know how to make a hologram. Well, our scientists have learned how to make people. They call them synthetics. Are you familiar with those?
Well, actually, we just interviewed John Lear, and he was talking about being in an audience in which they were given a lecture by a guy that they thought was real and found out later he was a hologram.
It's a synthetic. The synthetics, when you touch their skin, it feels like plastic. That's the latest technique. The old techniques, if you guys can rent a video, the boys from Brazil, rent it, because in it gives you the exact way how our government's been making people.
Now here's where things get interesting. This is Bridget Basilia. She's a chemist and the leader of a religious group called Realism. Clonate was one of the first companies to create a human clone, and they too believe in realism. Now in part 2, I'm going to link all this information and blow your mind.
8. It says almost the same thing. This was so important that it was recorded at least 3 different times in the same gospel. Look at what this says. If the two make peace with each other in this one house. When Jesus is talking about the house or the temple, what is he talking about? What is he talking about? Precisely you. You are the house. You are the temple. if the two make peace with each other in this house, if thought and emotion become one, if they make peace with each other in this house, look what happens. They will say to the mountain, move away, and it will move away. He's telling us again, in a completely different verse, how powerful it is to marry thought and emotion. But they still haven't told us how. How do you do this?
The truth about Logan Paul. Make sure y'all watch to the end of this video because I got some shit to expose. I'm sure most of y'all know who Logan Paul is. If you don't, he's a pretty big YouTuber and actor and a professional boxer now. He does a lot of stuff. Just the other day, he had a boxing match with Floyd Mayweather, which is one of the top 5 boxers of all time. But there's something serious I want to talk about. Before I even say anything, I want y'all to watch this video.
I'm gonna go in there, have fun. The fact that I'm even up here proves this is a simulation. None of it's real. The aliens are coming in June. Just be ready. Tomorrow, I break simulation and beat the greatest boxer in the history of the planet.
Now, if you are awake to what's going on in this world, you call yourself woke, or you've been following me for a while, you know exactly what Logan Paul's talking about. A lot of people ignored what he said. A lot of people think he's just crazy, or people just make memes and jokes. Logan Paul was literally telling y'all that we are in a matrix. He said it word for word. He talked about aliens coming in June, which is a part of Project Bluebeam. I ran out of time, but I got more I want to talk about. Y'all like, comment, and share this video for part 2.
There's a new video this morning that some say may be proof we're not alone in the universe. A UFO in the form of a bright light is seen descending over the Dome of the Rock in Jerusalem. The video is said to be taken over the weekend. Then suddenly the light shoots up into the sky. There you see it. Another video from a different angle appears to show the light doing the same thing. Those clips have gone viral now.
Whoa!
Completed. It is. The Messiah is come and done. But this is the final redemption. This is the transition from redemption to restoration and to the kingdom. And to go to the kingdom, we have to go through this thing called the Great Tribulation on our journey to the Promised Land, which is called the Greater Exodus. When does the Exodus begin? Well, historically from Egypt, it came after the Passover. When is the Greater Exodus going to take place? After this final redemption Passover. How do we know this Passover this year is specifically the final redemption Passover and it's not just the memorial of the ancient Egypt Exodus? How do we know this is the one? It's because Elijah shows up for the cup. We've been setting the cup for him. And when suddenly the report is Elijah is in the land, then we know this is the Passover that is for the final redemption and the beginning of the greater Exodus. And we're going to be going through the Great Tribulation, ultimately the great and terrible day of the Lord. All right? So where do we find in the New Testament that it talks about Elijah showing up before the Lord in the Great Tribulation so we know about the final redemption? Well, we have this incredible prophecy, are you ready for this? Of the 2 witnesses. Guess what the best assessment is that one of the 2 witnesses is? Elijah. We believe that prophecy in Revelation 11 about the 2 witnesses that come. One who comes in the spirit of Moses, one who comes in the spirit of Elijah, that they will give warning. They will be doing the same thing to Moses and Aaron did with Pharaoh, warning him before the judgments hit, warning the Egyptians about the judgments of God, trying to get them to release the children of Israel so they could go to the Promised Land. So we're going to have that prophecy being fulfilled, and we will know that he's in the world before that Passover because we see these 2 witnesses take their position at the Temple Mount in Jerusalem prior to the Passover in question. So when we come to the Passover, that is the final redemption, we already know Elijah is in the world. We already have the testimony. We already see them operating up on the Temple Mount, announcing judgments, the impending judgments to come upon the anti-Messiah and upon this world that are turning against the Lord.
One day,
siku moja,
when the rapture takes place,
wakati unyakuzi unapofanyika,
that those who will not enter,
ambao hawataingia,
they will remember.
watakumbuka,
Say, excuse me,
waseme niwie radhi,
this man
huyu mtu
went around everywhere.
alizunguka kote kote kila mahali.
Prepare.
Andaa.
Prepare.
Jiandae.
Prepare.
Jiandae.
He never got tired.
Yeye hakuchoka katu.
Every town,
kila mji,
every country,
kila nchi,
prepare.
Jiandaeni.
He never got tired.
Hakuchoka.
Every year,
kila mwaka,
prepare.
Jiandaeni.
The Messiah is coming.
Masihi yuaja.
Until it happens.
Hadi wakati katendeka.
Breaking news out of Israel. Israel's parliament has voted in the new coalition government. If you missed my video from yesterday, this new coalition government is definitely an abomination in the Holy Lands. You can go to my profile, check the video, where I introduce some of the main players of this new coalition government. Naftali Bennett is a multi-millionaire capitalist. He's joined by a secular, which means non-religious. He's also joined by an LGBTQ activist that is left-wing and wants to abolish marriage. And yes, an Islamic party leader, which means there is a Muslim in the new coalition government leading the Jewish people. They left out the ultra-Orthodox party from the new coalition government, which are the true Jews, the ones trying to preserve the true Jewish religion.